'Tis be at time to party with the pandas. Next time in the workshop. Hello, welcome back to the workshop. We are going to start work on a wonderful new project. It is a turtle pirate ship, and it is for the game Party Panda Pirates. I kid you not. And the company that makes it is Detestable Games from Draco Studios. Check it out. It's kind of an interesting thing for Detestable Games, but whatever. I've had a chance to play this game. It's a ton of fun, and we thought it'd be interesting to take the pirate ship from the green. It's almost like a lime green, and make it, actually piratey and, full color. So we thought that could be fun. You'll have noticed that I have excuse me, taped off a section. And the reason for that is I want this part to still be, once it's all painted, I still want this tube to still be the bare green plastic. Because you have to part of the game is you have to take a small wooden meeple, and you have to shoot it down here. And I thought that if I got any primer inside here, it might alter the game. It might prevent the nice slide. So I figured I'll just tape it off and try and keep it as unpainted as possible. So we're going to keep that there all the way through the painting process, and then when it's done, we'll take it off. But as far as the actual outside goes, it's open game. So we can do what we want. You can see there's the turtle. There's his little feet, his shell right there. But it looks like it's got, like a weird little engine, and I think those are windows. But, they're open to interpretation. You can paint them how you want. This is kind of like a cannon, crow's nest, hatchway. I think that's a sail. If it's not, well, we're going to make it a sail. So we have two halves to work on, and it's going to be fun. I am actually really looking forward to this, because this is one of the things where you can let your imagination run wild. I'm going to do this pretty plain. I'm just going to do this, as a standard pirate ship. I'm probably going to do those windows there. Probably going to do them as windows. This here, I guess you can kind of do as wood, but I'm going to do them as metal. And each side is slightly different. You can see the inside there, that, you know, part of the slide inside is right there, and you know, we're going to make that. So it's going to be all wood, except for, of course, the shell and the turtle, and then we'll start picking out other things. Like the cannon was probably going to be silver and brass. I don't know. We'll just kind of figure it out as we go. And right now we get to do the messy part. We get to do the wood. And for the wood, I am going to take dryad bark. I'm just gonna give it a shake, a proper shake, as you should always do. And I'm gonna use my number 6 Noble. There we go. It's a nice big brush. Should help me paint the boat relatively quickly. And again, there's no need at this point to be neat. Just kind of let the paint, let the color fill in everywhere. I mean, you can be neat if you like, and nobody says you have to make a mess. Nobody says that you have to, you know. But, you know, if you get paint where paint doesn't belong at, or where that color doesn't belong, that's okay, because it's going to be painted over later on. So don't fret too much at the moment. Uh, and, you know, you can be as neat or as messy or yeah, as you want, because like I said, we're gonna Any overpaints will either be covered up by other colors, or we will fix it up. So, not a huge deal. And also, while you're painting, the largest part of the game piece. This also gives you time to figure out what colors you might want to do other parts. And remember, there's two halves to do too. We're probably going to finish, finish. Probably going to do the wood to pretty much the finished look before we go on the great thing about the wood on this ship is that it's got so much detail in it that when I dry brush the highlight colors onto it, it's it's gonna just pick up all the important bits and just do a nice highlight on it. And that's what I mean by that we're gonna pretty much take this right to the finish line with the wood before we move on to other things. Don't be afraid to go back over things. Make sure you got a nice solid coat. Yeah. Oh, that's well, almost forgot the inside of the crow's nest. That's important. Oh, okay. There. All right, so we can put that aside. And we can start the other half. Now, the other half is not exactly like the other side. Like it's missing some details. The pipes are actually a little different. So, coming along actually quite nice. You know what? Kind of put that one aside, and I should have done something right off the hop, which I didn't do, and that's on me. We are going to of course take Agrax Earthshade, because we want to define the we want to define the wood. We want to be able to give it we want to put shade. I want to put shade into the wood, give it breathe a little life into the color before we do highlights and things. And I should have done this before I started the other side, so this would have time to dry. So that I can kind of go back and forth between the two halves. But I forgot to do that because I'm silly. And it's just putting the wash just everywhere on the wood. And you want to make sure that grain is coming out. Now, you don't necessarily have to paint every game piece that comes your way. You can leave some of it just the plain color and just move on. Nobody is requiring you to paint every piece that comes your way. But we did this as a challenge just to see what it would look like if I did paint this. And you know, so I took a challenge. Like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Sure, sure, sure. Instead of just going, why? It's just fine the way it is. Which it was. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you know what I should have done? I should have put this together before I taped it off and did, you know, and did all that, and actually took pictures of it together as the green. There we go. Now we can put that off to the side, let it dry. The egg waxer say leave it there because I'm going to need it again. Go back to my brown. Go back to the other side. And continue to do the brown base for the wood. Like I said, the color that I'm using is dryad bark. Because, you know, wood. Yeah. as you can, begin to see that, paint starts to bring life. To the minute, to your miniature. There we go. Well, don't worry, folks. There will be a time very, very soon that will have to be a lot tidier and a lot tighter with where and how we put our paint. But right now, not so much, which is fantastic because you can be as fast as you want. There we are. Now it's just kind of going over things and making sure that you've caught everything and there's no, hopefully, no black spots showing through. There. Again, we're just doing last minute checks. Make sure that we've got everything covered. There we are. For the moment. And there we are. Dry off our brush. There we go. Actually, we're going to be using that particular brush, quite a bit on this paint. Now there's still some parts that are wet on this, and that's all right. It's not a big deal. Because we are going to do this one. And again, we're just kind of going to go for broke and cover the ship in Agrax Earthshade. And we could do this one, you know, also giving the other side a little bit longer to dry. There we are. You can kind of see even just the egg racks alone is starting to bring the color to life. It's going into the crevices and giving it a little bit of shadow, a little bit of shade. Which helps make the 3D even more 3D. I love it. There was a time where I didn't use. Well, at the time, Citadel had inks. They didn't have like washes and stuff like that. So I learned how to do uh, shadows and shades and all that kind of stuff using just the regular paints and then very thin layers of highlights. Which I think was very cool. Oh, forgot this whole. Or nearly forgot this whole back end of the ship, I should say. Which would not be great. Put that aside to let it dry. Shouldn't need that for a while. Now, one of the great one of the things that I like to use, I can't think of the name of what it is right at the moment, but it'll come to me. Resources. One of the great resources that I like to use is an app called Citadel Paint. And what it does is bark, grass, or shade. and go through brown. Is it actually gives me the colors that I am looking for shades. Go through brown. So that'll be our next paint. And then I believe it is Bean Blade. The next highlight. And I'll just look on my wall. And see if I can find my Bean Blade brown. Which, again, still gives this time to dry, as it's taking just a wee bit longer than I was hoping. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we are going to dry brush. And we're going to bring the wood to life. There we go. Dry brush. So now, of course, shake the put some on the brush, work it into the bristles, but wipe most of it off. And then what we're going to do is we are going to just very lightly bring the wood to life. Tighten it up a little bit. Basically, we are just hoping to catch the raised bits of the wood. Again, you don't have to be particularly neat. going to repaint a lot of it. But we do want just kind of that wood. You know, lightened up a little bit. We want it to start having a bit of a life, but we want it to look like it's been, you know, that it, you know, that it lives at sea, kind of thing. Brand new Beyblade brown. Again, work it into the bristles. I leave the previous color to kind of actually help join the two. And this one we're going to do even lighter because we don't want too much of the Beyblade brown. We mostly want it on the edges of things. But we're still going to kind of go all over. There we go. I want just a little bit heavier. Dry brush. Kind of like that. So you can kind of see how, you know, we're starting to bring from that to this is a little bit different. It looks a little bit more alive. It looks, you know, it's starting to look quite nice. Of course, the other side isn't dry, but it will be by next time. We're gonna The next time we catch up with each other, we will be ready to do the dry brushing and everything on the other side. And we have all of our color. Where did I put the other color? Did I put it back? Nope, there it is. There we are. So there's our wood colors right there. We have Dryad Bark, and then Gorthor Brown, and then Bane Blade Brown right here. Boom. Now, if you don't use Citadels, I am sure there's a plethora of other gaming colors that you can use. I mean, I personally have Citadel, and then I have two thin coats right there from Duncan Rhodes Academy, which, by the way, if you haven't watched his show, I highly recommend it. Watch mine as well. So I could, like the crease leather, and it has it's got its own boar hide and fur cloak. So that's one way to go. But there are other brown combinations. You could also use Valeos or army painters or a plethora of different paints. I just happen to be mainly Citadel, but I am starting to get into some of the other paints because I am the paint slinger, and that's what I do. So we will catch up with each other next time, and we will do the other side. So until then, stay safe, be safe, most of all, paint safe, and we'll see you next time in the workshop.